Okay, we are in Derech Hashem, page 355, and Ramchal elaborates further on the nature of the soul of a person. He says, although we have referred to it in general terms as one soul, in actuality, it is comprised of many elements and various levels. And he says, explains, the components are not horizontally, so to speak, on equal footing. Rather, there's a hierarchy of spirituality present, consisting of ascending levels. We could almost say that there are many souls within this person that are connected to one another like links in a chain. That's a very interesting thing to say, because if you think about it, when we're talking about, I'm not saying we're going to go this way, but when you think about reincarnation, what does everybody always say? That if God is reincarnated, let's go backwards. It comes to Chiyat HaMeit and revival of the dead, so my body is waiting for my neshama. Okay, we always said that. They're going to come back together, and they're going to use each other to kick themselves up to the level which Adam Arishon should have brought us without the sin. But if we have reincarnation, so what does that say? That we have, which soul does the body go into? Right? Because the body could have the soul could have 5 bodies, 10 bodies, 1,000 bodies. Who knows? So if that's the case, which soul does it go into? Which body does it go into? So now if you look at it this way, that there are many souls within each person, so that can open up a whole new kettle of fish. It's not just one soul that's running you, now it's multiple souls. Talk about the multiple personalities we can have. But now you have multiple souls. And he explains that each soul is a completely independent entity standing on its own. Its linkage to one another does not detract from its independence, since one just as one link in a chain attached to another does not mean that it forfeits its own identity. Thus it is possible to say that each person consists of many souls. So like I said, that can possibly end off a situation where we have these souls coming to the body. It could be multiple things. Who knows? And just as it requires all links in the chain for the chain to be built properly, so too it requires all of those levels of souls for the building of the general upper soul that we have mentioned. And he says, it is this factor that allows us to consider each person as having a single soul consisting of different components, just as the soul is considered a single entity, even though it consists of many separate links. So it's an interesting way to look at this. All of these elements are interlinked with one another, and the last one is linked to the lower soul, and the lower soul to the blood, as we have mentioned. And he says, since they are linked in a hierarchical order of spirituality, the link at the lowest end of the spectrum is on the right level to attach itself to the nefesh life force, since that's the lowest. So the Ramchal presents a ramification of the fact that a human soul consists of many interconnected parts. He said, it is entirely possible that some of these elements may at times depart from the rest of the soul and return afterwards. And he says we see that we will see below that this means that the higher levels of the soul may depart from the overall soul of a person at certain times, and then return afterwards. Here too, this refers to the spiritual links of a higher level, which may be added to one soul to temporarily expand the dimensions of his soul. Now that will get into prophecy. Okay? In other words, I can have my basic souls connected, but the more I sensitize myself, maybe I'm going to get some attachments, as it were, and that will, using that sort of imagery, I attach things, I can get higher and higher with those chains, and ultimately I can possibly get to prophecy. But certainly I'm growing in one way or another. Or it is also possible that levels will be added to those souls for a duration of time and will afterwards leave. And that would be when you have the lack of prophecy. You go up and you come down. In either case, it will not be noticeable to the functioning of the body at all. He says the body will not be able to sense that elements of the neshama have been added or have departed. The Ramchal will soon explain the purpose of a change of this nature in the neshama if the body does not sense it. He says this is so because the effect, why doesn't it feel it? This is so because the effect of these souls upon the body is not something that can be felt. The physical body can feel things only through its physical senses. By definition, spiritual beings cannot be sensed by anything purely physical. So they neither add to nor subtract from the vitality of the feelings of the body. Rather, their effect is relevant to the status of the man as he truly is. And he says, since man is a combination of a soul and body, the addition of spiritual levels of the soul elevates the stature of the person as a whole, even though his body cannot feel the difference. Yeah.
So he's talking about elements and various levels, and then he goes on to say you can almost say that there are many souls within this person. He's not talking about the shama of 20 different people in one body. He's more talking about different facets of a single soul. I'm just trying to, because the language is a little slippery in the translation.
What's my options? You're saying 20 different souls in one person versus one soul with different levels?
Yeah, different aspects. Aspects and attributes.
Right, I hear what you're saying. It seems what he's saying is that you have different souls that are connected together, but they are different. You want to see different. I hear what you want to say, and I'll be more tempted to say what you want to say, by the way. That there's different elements to the soul that are being added to or subtracted from. The problem is that's not what he's saying. I would be more comfortable with what you're saying. I'm not as comfortable with what he seems to be suggesting, but it's I don't know, we'll have to see as it develops.
Yeah, because the translation is we can almost say that there are many souls within this person. I understand it better as links,
right?
Rather than 20 people kicking around the same head in the physical body.
Oh, so you want to look at it like that? Okay, so a neshama would not be a person. A neshama would be a spiritual essence. So,
but it is continuous and contiguous with the one person.
Now I'm gonna throw something at you, just to.
You already did, but go on.
Just to confuse the issue more. If you ever look into Eastern philosophies,
I try not to, but.
Thank you. If you ever look into it, so I think Stephen Richards was the author of the book about meditation or something, or he's into all that Eastern stuff, and so I think this is a book called Levitation actually. But his whole thing is if you meditate, the whole thing is on meditation. Really, everything is based upon meditation. So the more I meditate, the more I become comfortable with that, the more I can time travel and do all these wonderful things I want to do. So he argues, I don't know if he says he did it or not, but it wouldn't really matter because what do I care what he said? But the argument is that if I look into the mirror, I could talk to my former self. In other words, one of my incarnations. Go talk to any one of those and have a conversation, even from the 1700s. So now this would be an interesting situation, because if that's true, how could I talk to him? Could I really time travel, or would it be like this, where I'm talking to one of my neshamot, which is really part making me up, sort of? And is that what he's talking to? In other words, we remember one thing: when we see something, when we experience something, we don't know what we're really experiencing. We assume we know because we're arrogant. But we don't really know. And so when it happens, we say, oh, it must be this, because that's what the guy told me would happen. but it's really no proof one way or another. So it could be that the Ramchal is saying that, again, there's different parts of the soul, like we're more comfortable with saying, and that I build up on, sometimes I take it away, sometimes I build up, so on and so forth. Or it could be that there's different elements, different souls coming together that God is using as a DNA building block for the ultimate supernal man. Could be a lot of things. I don't know. Like I said, I'm more comfortable with what your first initial reaction is. That is really one neshama with different aspects that can be added to or subtracted from, which our body doesn't feel, because our body is only physical and is not spiritual. Our body doesn't feel it, but our neshama would feel it, which is why after Shabbos, you have many people who go through just a Shabbos depression, post-Shabbos depression. And you don't believe me? You never heard of that?
Never heard of that.
Never?
Never.
You have some people who are depressed when Shabbos leaves. So we want to say it's that the neshama yetarah is gone, and they feel that, and that's why they're not happy. They're not the happy campers. I've seen that. I've seen that amongst people. I've actually seen it. There's a lack of what?
Lack of emunah. Have another week to prepare for Shabbat.
No, it's not a lack of emunah. It's just the opposite.
Okay.
It's just the opposite, because you're sensing that something that you had, a gift that you were given, is suddenly removed from you.
No, sure.
So that you'll get it back, but you had it, and that felt so good, and suddenly it's ripped away. Oh, well, not ripped away, but taken away. No different than Shaul. When Shaul had his Ruach HaKodesh, and then it was taken away, as the story goes. He says he had a Ruach Ra. So we look at it and we say that it was a manic depressive. They really want to be a psychiatrist about it. So it'd be a manic depressive or something like that, where the guy's up and down, and he wants to kill people, doesn't want to kill people, understands. But nonetheless, he knew that he lost something. He was on that level. So our body doesn't feel it, but our neshama does. And that neshama sometimes communicates to us to say, hey, what's going on here? Which is...
Yeah, but like other losses that we have, that we feel tangibly.
Right.
We're to look past that physical loss. That this is for the good. This is
because that we can identify. The worst thing that happens when you can't identify what you've lost.
Okay, so these people you're speaking of, if they could then identify that this is what I've lost, and
right.
that could solve their depression.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, very good.
No, 100%. In other words, if somebody recognizes that's what it is. I've always wondered why I feel A, B, and C. In the winter, what do they call it? SAD, seasonal affective disorder. Okay? What's really going on? I remember listening to a rabbi about this. He said, what's the mystery? There's no sun out there. Even no sun, we all get depressed. Okay? So that was, he wouldn't give in to SAD. Okay? It was like, leave me alone. Stop giving up new titles here. There's no sun. We all get depressed. It's hard for us because we are we want the sun. That's why if you go to Bahamas in the winter, you're a happy camper. The sun's out all day. Leave me alone. And now you can get a tan and you feel good. You feel refreshed. You feel alive. You come to here, you want to go to sleep. I hope the Bears have a right. Not the Chicago Bears either, but the real Bears who go to sleep for 6 months. Good. And then they wake up. They're happy. Okay.
We're Scandinavians who stay drunk.
Say that again?
Scandinavians who stay drunk for 6 months.
There you go. You know where you also see this? In Alaska. There's massive depression there. Because they don't have sun.
Maine?
So,
Where you were?
Maine certainly has it because they're operational on very little sunlight. It's not as bad as here. Here's just crazy weather because of the lake. So I don't know what's going on here. Sometimes the sun's out and it's snowing. I'm not sure who's happy about that at any time, but it's you have to still shovel. But like I said, but that's what it is. The less sun we get, the more we're affected. So now, but I know that. So what do they tell you to do? Exercise. That gets your endorphins going. You can beat the depression, blah, 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 blah. Science answers that. But science does not answer what happens when I have a spiritual loss. And, by the way, again, I'm not playing a psychiatrist here, but the rabbis would say a lot of our depression is because we don't know what we don't know what's going on because we don't identify with our spiritual side. So that's a very big thing. But like I said, I would like to go with the way you're going. That is one soul with different links, and each one builds upon the other. I'm not going to argue that it seems more logical, but at the same time, it could be the other way around. It could be we have different aspects of different souls running around within us. And again, that would be, like I said, the nefesh yetarah. What is that on Shabbos? What does that mean? Does it mean just not the link that God puts in, takes out, puts in, takes out? Or does it mean that there's somebody, coming in to bounce himself up to the next level? Bounce itself up, I should say, not himself.
The genuine multiple personalities are vanishingly rare.
No, but you hear what I'm saying? It's not personalities. What I'm saying is, let's say a neshama, just for argument's sake, needed to experience a Shabbos to be kicked up to where they had to be. So what Hashem says is, okay, Nebel's keeping Shabbos. Good. Put him to Nebel. Boom. Hooks up with me. And that Shabbos that I keep shoots him up. Sort of like Clarence in the Christian story. Whenever you hear a bell, an angel gets their wings. Okay? So that angel got kicked up. So because of some good deed that somebody did, or that angel caused, I don't know how, I forget the movie, but I'm guessing the angel caused somebody to do something good.
It's a Wonderful Life.
No, I know the name of the movie, but I don't know why the angel gets kicked up. I'm guessing because they caused somebody to do something right. I'm guessing.
Yes.
Okay. So the same thing here. Maybe that's probably a very Jewish concept, where it could be that the neshama and materia that we're getting needed that Shabbos. And when we did it, boom, kicked him right up. And it got to the next level where it had to get to. So it's not impossible. Either you just get the same nefesh yetarah every time. I don't know. Try again, yeah. So it's an interesting concept.
All those endorphins.
The endorphins won't kick up the malach.
No, it makes you feel less depressed.
100%. And you know what really makes you feel less depressed? Going to Bahamas.
Alcohol.
No, alcohol makes you more depressed. Okay.
I've never been to the Bahamas.
Neither have I, but I can only imagine. This my imagination runs away with me. My wife, God bless her, they went to, in the middle of the winter, when I was in Maine, in the middle of winter, they went to Puerto Rico for a week or something with just the girls, her sister and her mother. And she needed the break anyway from everybody. So she went for a week. I didn't get telephone calls from her that week. It's like, I have a family somewhere in the world. And we were there in the winter. And she was enjoying herself. But that's what happened. She got refreshed. Okay, so again, back to this. Rather, their effect is relevant to the status of man as he truly is, and to his relationship with the supernal sources, corresponding to the suitability of his linkage with them. And he explains that the higher levels of a person's neshama are not felt in his body because they primarily affect his ability to relate to the higher spiritual beings, which the Ramchal stated was the purpose of the neshama of entering a person. In Mama Chachma, the Ramchal writes that a person who has 600 components of his soul will not be any more alive than one who only has 20 components, and neither will their intellect be different on that basis. So here you go. Again, my body is not going to feel if I'm a Rasha or a Tzaddik. It's not going to feel it. It's my body is my body. My neshama will have that impact. Yeah. Sorry?
Tattoo yourself.
Unless
Tattoo, then your mind might feel it.
if you tattoo yourself, then your body will feel it. Correct. Correct. Your body will feel it because it's pain, but it's it won't recognize. Say it again.
It won't recognize the spiritual part.
Correct. Which is why when you get one tattoo, you're only going to get others. It doesn't end with one. I've noticed that with people. I don't know why. It's like when I really don't understand body mutilation, But to me, that's mutilation of the body. Besides, it's being usher, but it's forbidden by Torah. I just don't get it. I never will.
I think it's more common now. I think back to old vets, World War II. They didn't have tattoos everywhere. I mean, some guys did, but there were a lot that would just have one or two. Does that resonate?
Yeah.
Like I said, today though, you see.
Yeah, so it's more about me now. I think.
Okay, but
back
I
then-
I had a friend who said to me, the reason that people get body piercings, the reason people get tattoos, is because they need to feel something, and they don't feel anymore. That's what they were holding. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know who. I don't really talk to people who have their tattoos and ask them why they did it. But it could be that they want to feel something. It's not because they want to break the rules. Right. Most people don't think, oh, I'm going to break God's rule, and because that would only be Jews anyway, and I'm going to tattoo myself. Hard to you, God. I don't think most people are doing that. But it's but again, the question is, why would you want to go through this pain? Why would you want to go through that?
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of, they were unit tattoos. They were, and that was.
Or dancing girls or mom.
Well, that too. But there was always a tie. There was something.
Yeah, but usually
Not
those
always, but
usually those tattoos, at least the reputation was, when you got drunk, you did something stupid. Not that when you were in sound body and mind. Unlike today, where you're in sound body and mind doing it.
You could do stupid things when you're sober.
That's also true. I'm just saying, the tattoos that came, according as far as the movies and everything would be concerned, where I was drunk that night and this is what happened.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was. I mean, anytime you throw a bunch of sailors off of a ship.
So yeah?
Anytime you throw a bunch of sailors off of a ship, they're going to be drunk.
Right.
So
Okay.
it doesn't happen because they're drunk. They're drunk, and then whatever happened.
You know what the difference between drunken sailors and Congress is?
No, okay, let's go.
The drunken sailors stop spending when they run out of money.
Okay, there you go. The lump bomb. There you go.
Now, the Torah prohibition, isn't that specifically against marking yourself in memory of the dead?
No, it says you cannot tattoo yourself.
Wait, I have a question.
You can't. One second.
Is that Mishnah? Because
That's what?
that's not Torah. That's
It is Torah. That's Torah.
Tattoo. They were known as
Tattoo.
tattoos.
Well, it says you can't mark your body in a way that's going to be permanent.
So there's scars. People scar themselves. They brand themselves with irons.
Where?
What do you mean?
Burning.
There are people who do very many bizarre.
So that wouldn't be. That would not be permanent. This was
Right,
talk.
right.
That was a different one. But this is saying you can't make a mark in you. 1 second. That's going to be permanent. So if I want to put on those tattoos, remember we're from bazooka gum, that you could go like this. So that's not a problem. But when you're going to do something that's they inject the ink into it, that's the problem. You shouldn't do it.
So are there other permanent marks beside tattooing, or that?
The only tattoo you could do is the one, by the way, for the cancer, where they have to mark your body. So that I saw is already permissible, because that's not for the same reason.
Usually they just use markers.
Yeah.
Oh, at one time they were doing I heard permanent.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Now they just use.
Okay.
very
But I'm just saying
good-
that was the question. As far as one before you guys ask, what was your question though?
That we're not allowed to mark.
So that would go back to the mourning. It
So-
says if somebody is in mourning, they can't cut themselves. They can't do all those gedidot. They can't do that, right? So that would also be during the normal times. Okay, you were next.
So you're not allowed to pierce yourself? Like cut, pierce, like your
Pierce your ear piercings. Don't pierce yours.
So what about girls then?
The girls, I don't like that either. By the way,
Oh.
ask my girls and they'll tell you I'm against it. No, a girl you can. The girls can pierce their ears. It's not considered mutilation. And a boy, no, I don't want you to pierce your ears. That's the end of it. I don't want you to pierce your ears.
Why isn't it considered
Why
mutilation?
isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. That is.
But then
But they had nose rings in those days. You're asking me a question I can't answer.
The whole slave.
The slave, right? But that was already a mark, and that was one ear, and there was a reason for that. But it's that's why I told my daughters
But no
don't
one else
mark
would do that.
yourself. Right?
If that piercing marked the slave, no one else would do that.
Correct. Yeah, correct. But again, guys did wear, even in those days, guys wore earrings. So I'm not sure how they In some they put in their ears. You were next?
Yeah, for what you said, like for you saying like what's kind of personal now is when you get like the cancer thing you said, they tattoo you,
Well, apparently the chest, they had a tattoo to mark
yeah,
it.
to mark you
Right.
or whatever. So would that go back to you're not the one doing it, it's the people, it's doctors in charge of saying you need a tattoo on you to mark you so that we know that you've been cured or that you haven't.
No, not cured. It would be so they can know where the
Okay.
radiation goes.
Okay.
So they would not have to expose the whole body.
Yeah.
So that was the purpose of it. Yeah, so it's because it's going to save you.
Okay.
It's treatment.
Would that be the same reason that it's not considered mutilation for the Holocaust survivors with their numbers on them?
They didn't do that.
Yeah, I know. So that wouldn't be considered mutilation. So I thought
Yeah, but they didn't want it to begin with. They were forced into that.
Yeah.
That was again. So if somebody does something to me against my will, it's not that I can. You can't punish me for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. At the same time, but the interesting is, what is it? Gateways. Gateways has the whole thing. Gateways is an outreach organization, and so they were trying to give a whole argument, and saying that let's say you had Holocaust survivors together, and they wanted to maintain the Holocaust. It was very important for them to do that. So what happened actually? So their children decided in honor of their parents or in memory of their grandparents, they're going to put a number on them. The number their grandparents had, they're going to put on. He said, now we have to assume, remember this is only theoretical because we really can't do this. Okay? You can't put it on yourself. Yeah, so what were you going to ask? One more you had.
Wait, so it isn't,
Wait, I'm waiting for you. Go ahead.
So it isn't considered mutilation.
It is not considered mutilation for what?
For a girl to pierce her ears, but is it mutilation for a man to pierce his ears?
No, I just don't want you to pierce your ears. I don't want you to pierce. I'm not going to lie to you to pierce your ears.
No. But I was just wondering.
No, it's not mutilation. Again, because men did it, it was something that was done. But as far as piercing your tongue and all these other mishigoyim, that's I think it's considered mutilation at that point. We're not allowed to do a lot of things. By the way, if you would to just show you how far this goes, let's say the plastic surgery that people want to get because they want to look more beautiful, whatever else, that is forbidden for 1,000 different reasons. Well, actually 4, but I'm exaggerating. I say 1,000, but it's forbidden on so many different levels, unless it's the person that was got to be burned. So then we give you the heter. We give the leniencies for those things. But if somebody just wants to, I don't know, look like all the Hollywood stars, they want to look 20 years younger, so they have a face pull, whatever they do to themselves, tummy tucks, all these things, that is 100% forbidden. You're not allowed to endanger yourself. And anytime you go onto the knife, you are in danger of dying. You're not allowed to do that. Okay? If a doctor says you have to do it, that's why we can have operations. But otherwise, just for have these ridiculous operations that they have to make them, like I said, they think they look younger. I think they look ugly after a while. Michael Jackson was like that. He kept getting operations. The guy looked like a walking Frankenstein after a while. It was too many operations. The first one wasn't allowed if he would be Jewish. He's not Jewish, so that's up to him. But well, it's not up to him anymore. But it's you know who I'm talking about when I say Michael Franklin. Okay, Michael Jackson, right? Michael Jackson. But it's just like I said, you don't do things to mutilate your body, and I don't think boys should be getting ear piercings. I'm sorry, I don't think girls should either. By the way, again, my daughters didn't get until they basically forced me into it. I think 12. When my oldest became the bat mitzvah. My youngest still does not have it. Although she doesn't.
You're lucky.
It's not a matter of lucky. I put my foot down on that one.
Yeah, so did I, and the kids were smuggled out and had their ears pierced. So
No, my wife respects me enough to say it wasn't the hill that she was going to die on.
Or the kids go off and do it themselves.
No, Baruch Hashem. I'm just saying, Baruch Hashem. I have good kids that way, and they respect what I'm saying.
Well, when I took my younger daughter, because I just wanted to make sure at least it was done when it became clear that it was going to happen without my consent.
Right.
And I took her over there, and she was complaining about the fact that I had long hair and a beard. And I said, well, honey, at least we're not getting father-daughter matching earrings.
There you go.
because we saw families doing that.
Okay. How are you? Okay, I hear. So now let's continue on. So it says, including this category, here's what we're talking about. It's the additional neshama that comes on the holy Shabbat and leaves after Shabbat. Neither its arrival nor its departure is sensed by the body. So again, you see Beitza. You look into Beitza in the Gemara. It says, thus, the neshama yetarah, the extra neshama, is not some extra spirituality that comes down into the person and stays along his regular neshama. Rather, it is a higher level of neshama that attaches itself to the higher parts of the person's regular neshama. Since the neshama yetarah consists of higher levels attached to the highest elements of the person's regular neshama, with which he has no direct physical contact, the person's body is unaware of it. Although Rashi says in Beitza that the neshama yetarah allows a person to eat and drink more than usual on Shabbat, that does not mean it is sensed by the body. Rather, the spiritual soul does not recoil from the physical food of Shabbat because it is not harmed by it due to the influence of the nefesh yetarah. By the way, as we all know, that if you eat more on Shabbat and then you step on the scale, lo and behold, when the neshama goes away, it doesn't take the weight with you. So do not use this as a leniency to grab all the food down your throat. But it would say, again, going back to what I was saying before, if we would be so bold as to say this link is what another neshama who had to kick itself up, as it were, by rejoicing on Shabbat and having that food, you may be eating for that. Again, don't be fooled in that you think you won't gain weight. You will gain weight, and we've all tried it. It doesn't work. Weight doesn't magically go away. You need to get on that treadmill to get rid of that weight. Okay.
The amount that it takes to satisfy that neshama is very small.
Correct. Right. If even that. So, like I said, the neshama is more a. It's just interesting that the Gemara says that you'll have the appetite to eat and drink more. The reason you'll probably do it, in reality, is the social eating.
Oh, and then you can bench. Then you can.
You what?
Then you can bench.
Bench, right. But I'm just saying, I think it has a lot to do with social eating. That when we all sit at the table, we all can eat much more than we would if we're not eating with each other. But again, I'm not going to argue that. That's just my take on it.
So bench and binge is what you're saying.
Binge and bench, actually.
Or bench and binge.
By the way, if you eat so much that you vomit, then you can't bench.
Ah, dang it.
So that's not considered eating. So for those who are, which says bulimic, who eat and then force them to throw up, they never can bench in reality. There's nothing there. They're not eating properly. Yes. You want to ask on bulimic?
No.
Okay.
No, they can eat, bench, and then throw up.
No, that's what I'm saying. Then you should bracha in vain. Okay, so you should, obviously this is sickness that has to be taken care of, but I'm just saying in that case, or if I eat just too much and I have to vomit after that, so I really can't even bench on that. So it's never good to do that. So the Ramchal presents a general subdivision of the soul. He says, the total elements of the upper soul are divided into 5 main categories. And they are called in descending order nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida. And here we go. These are mentioned are in Bereshit Rabbah. The lower 3 categories, nefesh, ruach, and neshama, are in the person's body, while chaya and yechida are above, albeit connected to the rest of the person's neshama. Nefesh, the lowest category, connects with the lower life force nefesh that humans share with animals. In Ma'amar Chachma, the Ramchal writes that the nefesh resides in the liver, the ruach in the heart, and the neshama in the brain. The chaya surrounds the whole body, while the yechida hovers above the head. In Ma'amar Chachma, as he says, see there for the spiritual source of these 5 categories of soul. Also, Rav Chaim Friedlander cites Nefesh Chaim, who maintains that other than Moshe Rabbeinu, the essence of another person's neshama does not enter into his physical body. Rather, sparks of light, quote-unquote sparks of light, discharge from it above a person's head, each individual according to his level. We need to keep in mind that there are 2 different meanings of the word neshama. Man's unique neshama, the upper soul, has 5 categories, one of which is also called neshama. Similarly, the category nefesh is distinct from the life force nefesh, the lower soul, that man shares with the animals. So you have many times the same word, and it's going to mean a whole bunch of different things. So you have to be careful with that. So the Ramchal elaborates on the upper soul. He says this upper soul has unique encounters appropriate for it based upon its nature. Although it is bound through its linkage to the body, as we have mentioned, it still retains some involvement with the spiritual beings, with this linkage to the body. Which its linkage to the body does not prevent from occurring. Thus, the neshama is still able to have some contact with its natural habitat in the spiritual realm, even while restrained by the physical limitations imposed upon it by the body. However, nothing emerges or is born out of this that would be felt and noticed by the person's intellect and thoughts, except in rare circumstances. Okay, fine. So then, an example of such a circumstance is what Chazal, the rabbi, said in the Gemara, referring to someone who feels fear without apparent reason. And he says in the Gemara in Megillah, the Gemara Megillah says, quotes a verse in Daniel. It says, "I, Daniel, alone saw the vision. The people who were with me did not see the vision, but a great fear fell upon them, and they fled into hiding." The Gemara explains that the people with Daniel were the prophets Chagai, Zechariah, and Malachi. He was superior to them in that he saw a vision. That's why it was called a seer. Whereas they did not. They were Nevi'im. But the Gemara asks, if Chagai, Zechariah, and Malachi did not have a vision, why were they afraid? So now the Gemara is paraphrasing the Gemara's answer. And it says, although he did not see the cause of his fear, his mazal saw it. So the Gemara answers that even though they did not see the vision through prophecy, their mazal, their spiritual essence, saw it. Okay, so according to the Ramchal, this mazal is a manifestation of the person's soul, with the Gemara teaching that the person's upper soul sometimes relays its experience to the body below. So now, if you have that sudden fear, what we would call a premonition, or a sixth sense, or whatever you want to call that, we feel something's going on, but we don't know it. It's irrational. We think, what am I afraid of? Well, guess what? There's probably something there. You shouldn't just ignore it, which is why we were talking about this. I don't know what I was talking about with this. You remember who I was talking to about this? So let me just finish what I was talking about. We were talking about if somebody is coming towards you and you feel that it's wrong. I know who was talking about. I was with you?
That's one of mine.
Okay. Then you should listen to your body, and you should listen to it because something's wrong. Now, he's saying it's your neshama saying, or your mazal saying, warning, you have a problem here. It's not, and you should not ignore it. Yeah, what was your question?
By not ignoring it, you mean either A, running away, or B, charging at it.
No. Don't ignore listen to it. I'm not saying which action to take.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying that's up to you which action you want to take. How are you going to charge at something you can't see?
No, but I have a bad feeling about this. I'm going like that person walking toward me.
No, you don't.
Not a person, but like a
that thing.
I have like behind the corner. I feel there's something there. So instead of like slinking away and trying to get away from it, I'm gonna jump the corner and try and get whatever's there.
I wouldn't do either one. I would prepare myself, but I wouldn't do either one.
Okay.
It's like when you're walking down the street. You have to be prepared for things. If you're walking down the street here and you see somebody walking towards you, you should have your guard up if you don't know who it is. I'm not saying you should beat them up, but you have to have your guard
My
up.
example was women tell stories post-assault about, there were a group of guys at the corner and they had a bad feeling and they, for fear of embarrassing themselves and crossing the street or turning and running, they put their head down and they walk right into it. And then they say after the fact, so.
Right.
know.
No, you have to listen. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, that's when you see what you see it.
Correct.
And
correct.
what I'm saying is here, what happens when you walk into a place and you just have a feeling something's wrong, but there's no without this rational reason. I see the guys, but if I don't have a rational reason, I'm walking around, I just say, whoa, I'm getting bad vibes here. So what we're saying is, don't ignore that. Something's happening. Your neshama is giving you your neshama is giving you something, or your mazal is telling you again. Warning: be prepared for what's going to happen. Not to run away, not to face your fears. Blah blah blah. I'm not going to get into all that. I'm not saying people should be afraid, but I have to be prepared for something, and that's what I mean. A dog's going to bounce out at you, and the worst thing to do is when the dog bounces out, to be afraid, because that's what the dog wants. So when the dog does it, you act like you're going to pick something up to hit it, and the dog will, veer away. Right.
Like when the dog jumps at you, jump back.
Right. You hit him in the face. Right?
Bad, yeah, jump at the dog.
But that's, if you ever think of a dog, I remember the dogs also, they when you reach down, they're afraid. They don't know what you've done. They know that their master must have slapped them a couple of times, because they're ready for something, and they'll back off. They bark like crazy, but they're backing off. That's our reaction. I'm backing off. I'm worrying what's going to happen. I'm still watching you, but again, I see what's in front of me. If I don't know what's in front of me, and I'm just afraid, I should wonder why I'm being afraid. And that's, according to what we're hearing, that's my mazal speaking. And again, be on alert. What they would call yellow alert in Star Trek terms. Be on yellow alert. Okay? Not red alert. Red alert means I'm going to shoot the guy.
Yeah.
Yellow alert. Yellow alert. Right. That's his time. Right. That's a red alert. Red alert. Right. But I'm saying yellow alert. Yellow alert. Put shields up. Actually, that's what happens. Yellow alert was put shields up. Right.
Something bad might happen.
Say it again.
Something bad might happen. Oh wait.
Right.
It's like a stoplight. Green means go, yellow means caution, not speed up.
Right.
Red means stop.
Right. Okay. So, yeah. So, however, I said, I'm sorry. Right. So this means that the matter already reaches upper soul, but a complete picture of it did not reach the person's thoughts and intellect. Only a slight awareness, but not more. So he says, this is why they didn't see the vision, didn't come to their intellect. Thus they were frightened, although they could not clearly define the source of their fright. This may explain how a person can have a sixth sense about something, even though he cannot put his finger on why he feels a certain way. It could be that the upper levels of his soul see something that his physical intellect does not clearly see. Of course, this doesn't mean to suggest that every intuition a person has is genuine. Again, sometimes you have to check your fear at the door. But you have to look at that and say, is it irrational? Is it irrational? Should I be afraid? Again, I would say shields. Shields up. Be prepared for what could happen. Okay, so the Ramchal explains another situation where the soul acts outside the body. He says, divine wisdom saw fit to divide time into two components. One for the activity of the created beings, and the other one to allow them to rest, periods of day and night. For the day is a time for action, and the night is a time for rest. The Hashem placed within the nature of the living creatures that they should sleep, or in order that they and their spirit should be able to rest from the work. He says the word spirits here does not refer to the ruach, one of the five main categories of the soul mentioned above, which is found only in humans. Rather, it means the general vitality associated with life force nefesh, the spirit of animals that descends down to earth. So we see that the Ramchal is telling us, go to sleep early. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. It wasn't Benjamin Franklin who said that. Basically, it is Ramchal. Okay. During that time, strength is renewed in all creatures' physical and spiritual elements, and they will return renewed in the morning for their service as they initially were. As the Pasuk states, they are renewed every morning. The Ramchal clearly teaches that the spirit also needs the refreshment of rest, although we will soon see that the person is neshama is sometimes active at night. That activity usually actually affects renewal in the neshama. And we'll have to stop here. Yeah.
have a roosting sort of sense.
A what?
Chickens have a roosting sort of sense where when the light gets low in the evening, they tend to head back to where they roost. No, that's
No, so the animals only have, they go by instinct. They don't have the neshamas doing that.
alright.
Okay?